After we got back from Christmas break, we were rested. I was rested. So were the rest of the troops. We were all maybe a little too rested and too relaxed because we flunked our first inspection. Drill sergeant was really mad. He was really mad. He said, "You guys have fooled me. I thought you had it together, but now I see not true. This second half is not going to be as easy as the first because I'm on to you now." Excuse me. And he was right. He started waking us up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. He would have us come out, fall out and do marching. He would have us fall out early just for an information, wake us up at 4 o'clock in the morning, have us fall out for a formation, then go back and clean the barracks and fall back out at 6 o'clock. And yeah, it got really bad as the soldiers started getting tired and miserable. Morale started to break down. The guys that used to help each other and we used to work together as a team, now everybody was short-tempered and quick to fight with each other. They fight at the drop of a hat. They didn't need much of an excuse, just somebody else that wanted to fight. And the morale of the unit just got really low. So low that my squad leader said, when I get out of basic training, I want to become a drill sergeant. And I looked at him and I said, why? Why would you want to become a drill sergeant? Every time he wakes us up, he has to get up first. And every time he takes us out marching in the rain, he's there with us marching in the rain. Why would you want 3 years of basic training? And he said, so that I can make somebody else as miserable as the drill sergeant has made me. And I realized the misery flows down the chain of command. But it can stop with me because I'm a Christian. Because I have Jesus Christ in my heart, I don't have to pass it on. And I determined in my heart I was not going to pass it on. I tried to cheer the other guys up. I was, and it didn't matter what they dished out to me. I just took it. And I just stayed cheerful. And I think that made it worse. I think that drove them up a little more. But one evening, matter of fact, my squad leader said, "Shreve, fall out." And when I got out there, I found that along with 7 other guys, I had been chosen to do extra marching practice. And they took us to the parking lot, and they said, "Okay, you guys are going to march here in this parking lot until you get it right. If that takes all night, you're going to march until you get it right. You've got to get your act together." So they started us off, got us in a formation, said, "Right face, forward, march." And they were calling cadence, but it seemed like it was an irregular cadence. Of course, the guy calling cadence wasn't used to calling cadence, so it might very well have been. After we'd been marching for about 20 minutes, I think it was, I stepped on what felt like a rock. You know how when you step down on something and it's higher than you thought it would be, you kind of get this surge. And that's what happened. And I looked down and there wasn't a rock, no rock, not anything anywhere near big enough to make me feel that way. And then I saw out of the corner of my eye, I saw my squad leader limping off toward the barracks along with the help of another soldier. And I said to the guy calling cadence, I said, "Hey, what's the matter with him?" He said, "Don't you know, Shreve? He just kicked you." I said, "Oh," and kept marching. Now, when I we went back into the barracks, and I got up the next morning, my squad leader was there, and he had his right foot in a cast, and he was on crutches. And I said to him, I said, "What happened to you?" He said, "Oh, Shreve, knock it off. I kicked you. And I kicked you so hard, I broke 2 bones in the top of my foot. And you didn't feel it?" "No, I don't buy it. I'm not buying that. I know you must have felt it." So I went, "Okay, believe whatever you want." I mean, I could understand his confusion. He had kicked me hard enough to break 2 bones in his foot, which was protected by an army boot that was about 4 weeks old. And he felt like he had kicked me, but I didn't feel it, and I didn't have a bruise. Now, the only conclusion I could come to is I must have stepped on an invisible angel's foot, and he kicked that same invisible angel, or maybe his sword. That would explain why his foot, 2 bones in his foot, was broken, protected in that. I mean, if he had had a bare foot, that would be one thing, but he had an army boot on. It just didn't make sense. I don't care how you do it, how you play it, it was a miracle. And I believe to this day that it was an angel stepped in the way. And he blocked that kick because I didn't even have a bruise. So, and after that, by the way, the extra harassment by the squad leaders stopped. They terminated that. Too much. Gone over the top for a guy to break his feet, break his foot. Was just too much. So they stopped that. Matter of fact, we had about another 2 weeks left in basic training, and then we graduated. They had a graduation ceremony. My folks came to it, and I got my medals, and I got orders for Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. I had 15 days to report, so I got 15 days at home. And then I packed my duffel bag, put on a Class A uniform, and went to Seattle-Tacoma Airport, called SeaTac. My folks took me there. I got on the plane. I was the last person to get on the plane because I'm flying military standby. The thing I didn't know was that meant also that if there were any empty seats in first class, I got to sit in first class. So I did. I got to sit in first class. You know, they don't ask you for your ticket. They just treated me like a first class patient. I mean, first passenger. So anyway, that was fun. That was good. And then I got to New York, to Kennedy Airport, got out, got my luggage, found the bus going to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, rode into Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, got there, was assigned to a barracks, and then I was assigned to a KP unit. I found out that I had 2 weeks of solid KP. That means you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you go to the kitchen, and you are cooking, peeling potatoes, washing dishes, mopping floors until 7 o'clock that night. And we'd come back to the barracks at 7 o'clock, and I was so tired, all I could do was just go to bed. And it was almost as bad as basic training. But there was no harassment, and there was no outdoors. So we were in the hot kitchen, actually. That kitchen got really hot by the end of the day. But anyway, after the end of 2 weeks, I got assigned to M Company. And I found out when I got there that 2 weeks of KP was all the KP I was going to have for the whole time I was in Fort Monmouth. The company commander informed us that there's no KP once you get through that first 2 weeks. So, and he told us that he was quite proud of the high scores that his company had achieved. And the main purpose that we are here for was to do our military operation schooling, MOS, service actually, it's service. And my MOS was microwave radio repair. So he wanted us to get the best scores possible, keep our bay, our living quarters clean, and he would be happy. And that we did. For a couple months, I think it was. And then he transferred out, and another company commander came in, and the new company commander, he did not think that Fort Monmouth should be any different than any other base. He didn't think we should be treated any different than any other soldier anywhere else. So just do the best at school went away. Matter of fact, schooling was his bottom priority. Now, as soon as I got to Fort Monmouth, as soon as I got where I could do it, got through with the KP, I told God, I said, you know, I can't set an alarm. I can't get up in the on Sunday morning to go to church, because if I set an alarm and wake up the guys around me, I'm going to get beat up, I'm going to be in big trouble with guys around me. A lot of those guys, they're sleeping off a hangover from partying Saturday night. So yeah, I couldn't set an alarm, and I told God I can't set an alarm. So I told God, I said, if you wake me up on Sunday morning, I'll go to church. Sure enough, 7 o'clock Sunday morning, I was wide awake. Wide awake. So I got dressed up in my Class A uniform, and I went and got breakfast, and then I walked out the front gate, and I said, God, okay, you've got me up. Now, where do you want me to go to church? I figured, well, I've got to be able to walk to the church. So I turned left as I went out the gate toward Eatontown, downtown Eatontown. And I got about 2-3 blocks, and I saw a little church. So I went to it. Turned out it was a Southern Baptist church. They had Sunday school and church service. After church service, a lady came up to me. She said, my name is Mrs. Kowalski. You can call me Mrs. K. Everybody else does. And she said, I'd like to invite you out to dinner if you don't have other plans. I said, no, I don't. I would very much like to come have dinner. She said, we got 3 other servicemen coming, and we'll take you home, and we'll either get you a ride or give you a ride back to base when you're done. I said, great. So I went out to them for dinner. Found out when I got there that they invite out 4 to 5 servicemen every Sunday. When we got done eating, Mrs. K assigned 2 of the guys to doing dishes. The servicemen took turns doing dishes, so that she didn't have to, which is only right. And then we played games with the family, had a lot of fun. About 7 to 8 o'clock that night, the guy that had a car said, well, I should need to get going back to base. So 2 guys were riding with him. They said, well, we better go too. And then they invited me. They said, you know, Bob, if you want to ride back to base, we can give you one. So I said, okay. Well, I got to ride back with them. We thanked Mrs. K for all the great food. We thanked the family for all the fun and games. And we went back to base. Yeah. So after that, I invited another serviceman. His name was Mike Bixler. I found out he was a Christian. I said, hey, you can come with me to church if you want. There's a little church up here. Told him that I might even get invited out to dinner. And he said, nah, I don't get up that early on Sundays. He said, I can't set an alarm, and I can't wake up. I don't get up that early on Sundays. I said, well, I could wake you up after God wakes me up if you want. He says, are you telling me God wakes you up every morning? I said, no, just on Sundays. He said, okay, I'll tell you what, Shreve. If God wakes me up, I will go. I said, okay. And I went back to my cubicle. Come the next Sunday morning, he's at my cubicle in my bed about 7 o'clock when I woke up, and he said, well, looks like I'm going to church. I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning, can't go back to sleep. So looks like I'm going to church with you. So he did. He went to church with me, and we got invited out to dinner. We were walking to and from church together most of the time, became good friends. So we're there. Well, I can't remember how long it was. It's like 2, 3, 4 weeks. Probably about 4 weeks. About 4 weeks, and the company commander transferred to another station, to another base, and we got a new company commander. And this company commander really started to crack down on the inspections on Fridays. About that same time, our squad leader came to me and said, Bob, I have chosen you as my replacement. When I'm shipping out in 2 weeks, and when I ship out, you take over 4th Squad. And I said, oh, don't think so. No, I don't want that job. He said, well, this is the Army. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. You got it whether you want it or not. Because this is the Army. You don't get to choose. And he walked away. I thought to myself, well, fine. They can't make me be mean to the guys. I'll just tell the guys to do their share of the work, and everybody does their job, and that'll be the end of it. So the next Friday, the next morning, when I just told the guys, you know, do your work, and I didn't take charge, the squad leader changed his mind and he gave the job to Mike Bixler. Now Mike Bixler, being a good Christian, decided that as a Christian he should make sure that the Army gets the best job possible. Therefore he always put his best workers on each detail. All the work was assigned to the best workers, and the guys who goofed off all the time, they didn't get any work to do except their own area, their own bunk, their own wall locker, and their own floor. So, and I kept trying to talk Mike into the idea that that's not the way it works, Mike. No, that's not the way it should work. But I couldn't get through to him. So when first squad leader came to me and said, Bob, I'm shipping out in a week, and I'd like to take my squad. I said, gladly. And I was more than glad to take his squad. About that same time, we got a new platoon sergeant. His name was Sergeant Ronnie Lott. Yes, it's the same sergeant that Sandy was praying for. The same guy that she gave me the address to look up. Exact same guy. And he became our platoon sergeant. Now the first Friday that he was on duty with our platoon, on Friday after inspection, Friday evening inspection, he came out. He was really mad. He said, that barracks was a mess. You guys made it a mess, and you are not going to get your passes this weekend. Nobody's going on pass this weekend. No way. So everybody's restricted to base. You're going to have to just clean the barracks until you get it right this weekend. And I went up to him right after formation, and I said, where's the gig list? Now I had told my guys when I took over the squad that as long as they didn't get a gig, I could get them out of most anything. But if they get even one gig, even one of them gets one gig, there was nothing I could do for them. So I had told them that. And they all said, oh, okay, what's it take to not get a gig? And I said, well, you clean your barracks, you clean your cubicle so that they can't find any dirt. You clean the common area that we were responsible for so they can't find any dirt. And then you don't get a gig. And they said, okay, so you mean like this cubicle? And I said, you think this cubicle's ready for inspection? And they said, yeah. So I said, okay, you think it's clean? And they said, yeah. I said, you think this window's clean? And they said, yeah. So I took my finger and I wiped it along the windowsill, and I found a good part of dust. And I showed him my finger. I said, doesn't look like it's clean enough. So you think this floor's clean? Yeah, I'm pointing at the floor locker. And they said, yeah, kind of think so. Kind of looks like it. And I reached in behind the foot, behind the leg of the floor locker, and got a big wad of dust and said, no, it's not. Then I did the bed. By the time I got done inspecting that cubicle for them, they had a new appreciation for what it meant to not get a gig. So we did. My squad cleaned things to not get a gig. So when I got that gig list from Ronnie Lott, first thing I went looking for was a gig. I wanted to see if any of my guys got a gig. And I looked through the list of all the personal space, the actual platoon base. Then I checked the latrine, which was the common space that we were responsible for, and no gigs. Nobody had a gig. Nobody. So I went to Ronnie Lott and I said, Sarge, I've got a problem. What's your problem, Sharif? I said, none of my guys got a gig. He said, so? The bay was a mess. That's all it takes. And I said, well, if nobody got a gig, then what am I going to tell my guys? What am I going to tell my guys? I mean, he said, what do you want, Sharif? I said, well, if you let my guys have their passes and you make the other guys stand the inspection, it'll reward my guys for doing well and encourage those guys to do better. He goes, okay, Sharif, you got it. So I went back up to 2nd Platoon, and I walked in, and the guys were all throwing stuff, cussing and kicking their lockers. making a mess. And I said, first squad to the front. And they all came up to the front cubicle. I said to them, what did I tell you about not getting any gigs? They said, don't get any gigs. I said, that's right, and you didn't get any gigs, which means you get your passes back. And they went, yay! They all cheered. And I said, okay, now guys, the rest of the platoon is going to be here this weekend, and they're going to be doing a Class A inspection until they get it right all weekend. And I said, unless you want to stand a Class A inspection, you need to clean up the mess you've made, have your area shipshape, and then go out on pass. And you need to be gone all weekend. One guy said, what if I don't have a place to go? I said, go to the park, go to the bowling alley, just go somewhere. Because if you were here between 6 o'clock, actually between 10 o'clock Saturday morning and Sunday night, 6 o'clock Sunday night, I said, you have to be dressed and ready to stand a Class A inspection. Which means you got to have your shoes polished, your nice suit on. I said, you don't want to do that. So find some place to go. So they did, and when nobody had any more questions, I went to my room and I got ready for pass for the weekend. So that's how the squad went. A lot more happened. And next episode I'll tell you about how God intervened.